guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on the pay to win account and continuing with the series, guys. So today we are up to the Lightbearers. We've already covered the Maulers, we covered the Graveborn, we covered the Wilders. So now it is time for the Lightbearers, guys. So ultimately, again, this is not a guide. This is just my preference, how I run through my heroes, how we really build the heroes, how I progress them. Seems to work very well. As you guys know, I do have 8 different accounts that we run heroes on, including my Lightbearer account. So ultimately, let's get into the heroes, guys. Number 1 for Gwen, very, very strong hero. She is definitely one of the ones you want to build. The earlier you can build her, the stronger. Ultimately, for her ultimate ability, or for her signature item, you want a plus 20 at least, a plus 25. A lot of people do prefer because it does offer bonus haste at that plus 25. Plus 30 if you're building her, if you do utilize her, I would definitely recommend building her to the plus 30. Looking at her furniture as well, very powerful for the 3 of 3, 9 of 9, not really needed. Unless you're primarily using her in every single formation. 3 of 9 is really all that you need. For the first normal attack, it triggers Flame Arrow and Lightning Arrow simultaneously. Very, very powerful because remember, if you're running her with a couple different heroes, including Joker, it's going to trigger his ability because of the Lightning Arrow and the stun effect that it has. So she provides a ton of damage and she provides a crowd control aspect, which is very, very powerful. There he is, guys, my favorite hero in the game. If anyone ever questioned it, Rowan has always been my favorite. He is the hero you should build absolutely first. Number 1 in AFK Arena. He will support a team on any team that he is on. His signature item, plus 30. Furniture you don't need with him at all. But the biggest thing, guys, the game changer in AFK Arena, right there, energy restored, increased to 400 points for a potion. And the rest of his potions heal. So he does have a heal ability with him. He has a stun ability with him. He has an energy regen ability with him. Super, super powerful. Again, guys, 3 of 9 you could use. It gives a little heal over time, but ultimately furniture on Rowan, not very important at all, which makes it a lot easier for him to build, especially if you are earlier levels. Just focus on his signature item, guys. Again, he is priority number 1. Belinda's a hero they used to give us a lot of copies of. Now they swapped it to Chimera. Short of possibly the guild boss, which it seems like there's a lot of alternatives in there, or running her in the light tower. Ultimately, you can put other heroes in her place. She is not a priority anymore to build. If you are building her, her plus 20 signature item does well. Plus 30, again, there is no need for. It's kind of overkill, and she is far down the list to build up that plus 30 signature item. Looking at the furniture, the only time really the 3 of 9 is really good is right there. When it hits one enemy target, the damage dealt is increased by 30%. This, again, coincides with the boss fights. If you have her 3 of 9, she can do a ton of damage built around the right team combination with the Divine Light ability because of the one target. And again, there's a lot of other heroes you can use for Riz outside of her with Lorzen. Ultimately, to invest in her and invest in her quite a bit, there's really no purpose for. Which brings us to Cecilia. Guys, I treat Cecilia as kind of a cheaper Athalia version. She is easier to build. Ultimately, having her built is very, very strong when it comes to the hunting fields. Very good when it came to the Abyssal Expedition. Her signature item overall, plus 20 is good. I wouldn't build her to the plus 30. There's not really much point for the health recovery rate. If you're worried about her health recovery, you need a support hero to support her. Ultimately, you want to make sure right here, the 2 energy point regens are the big one with the plus 10 and the plus 20. Ultimately, they give the same amount of energy, but they do give a little bit of Cecilia's attack rating as health, so it is a little bit of a heal. Again, the plus 30 for her is kind of overkill. When it comes to the furniture, if you're really using Cecilia to perform, you have to have her furniture because of the Symbol of Sin ability. So she will actually mark targets. Her 9 of 9, the ultimate ability Judgment Day, marks the enemy with the second highest damage dealt with the Symbol of Sin. When you have her 9 of 9 furniture, she will actually ult twice. So you will actually see her ultimate ability, Judgment Day, hit 2 heroes, guys, and she can do this very, very fast. She is huge in regenerating energy. I have her max out on the Lightbearer account, and she can just burn through teams very, very quick. Ultimately, that's why I build her in place of Cecilia, or in place of Athalia, just because of the power that she brings, and it is much, much cheaper to build her out. Looking at Falks, short of the tower, there's not really any place that is used. He does well against the Brutus, cleansing out the shield, but ultimately now we have a lot of heroes that can do that, or even stall through it with haste reductions. Ultimately, Falks is a hero that is going to provide crowd control within the tower, but I don't see him in any campaigns anywhere. The defense rating is relatively short, so it is only 5 seconds. Again, not a big focus on building Falks, short of running him in the Lightbearer tower. Which brings us to Lucious. Unfortunately, Lucious is the same. Building up his signature item, plus 20 at the very most. There's no reason to take him to a plus 30. His furniture doesn't really perform that well outside of the tower. Again, he's not used in any formations, which a lot of the Lightbearer heroes are not used in a lot of the formations overall. So building him again comes kind of far down the list. Brings us to Rose. Rose is really the superpower support that will follow any target and make them that much stronger, guys, so they can double ult. She's used in a couple Twisted Realms. We've used her a lot in the Abyssal Expedition to really supercharge the ult of a hero that you want to focus on, because she transfers her attack and she transfers her crit rating and her dodge. Really big thing is the plus 30 with her is really, really strong, because raises allies crit rating and dodge by 25% of Rosalind's own. So when Rose is powerful, when you got her geared up, the crit rating is going to transfer to the hero she is following, making her very powerful. Definitely the 30 signature item on her. Ultimately, a lot of people have said with the teacup effect, throwing the teacups at the enemies, building her to a 9 of 9 does a ton of damage. If you guys have ever faced Rose when it comes to campaign, she is very, very tough to deal with. And a lot of players, if you're really utilizing Rose, the 9 of 9 furniture becomes a necessity, because effect can be triggered up to 1 time every 0.75 seconds. So you can have this ability up very, very quickly, and her doing a maximum amount of damage. And also the hero she's following is going to do a considerable amount of damage. Now we get into some of the other heroes like Astrilda. I use Astrilda in a couple different places. I absolutely love her in the tower, really for 2 things. Number 1, since her rework, guys, she does a really, really big buff. When allied heroes on the front line is still alive, all damage by their back line is reduced by 15%. So she gives a big damage reduction to the back line when there's frontline heroes alive, coupled with, of course, right there, her furniture. The 3 of 3 is really required. The 9 of 9, really kind of an overkill. After 18 seconds, the attack rating and the defense goes up for the entire team till the end of battle, coupled with the defense boost that she's already bringing here, or the damage reduction that she's bringing here, really increases the survivability when it comes to the faction tower. Really, she has a knockback as well that works very well with Gwen Rose combination. So ultimately, guys, I build her up to plus 20 is really all you need. Plus 30 definitely helps a big amount. The big thing between the two, the plus 20 is when Astrilda is alive. And then the plus 30 is when an allied hero on the front line is still alive. So if Astrilda does die early, they do lose out on this effect. But as long as she's up, the plus 20 there will work. But the 3 of 9 furniture definitely required to really get her to perform well. Which brings us to Rain. The only thing that Rain is used for right now is to debuff bosses. That's really it, which I believe it is. Which one is it? Maybe it's Warrant, the Exploit. There you go. Rain's damage and abilities. Rain's allies can be raised up to 30%. So she's kind of just a buff for the rest of the team is really all that it is. Marked enemies do more damage. So ultimately, a lot of players have gotten away from Rain. I don't even know anyone who built Rain without her 3 of 9 furniture. This is the big one. After 3 seconds of battle, the enemy with the lowest health is marked upon death. They take 30% more damage, which again, I don't see any twisted realm formations or even boss formations that are utilizing her right now. There was a very, very short time that a lot of players were utilizing Rain before Mortis came. And now that Mortis is here and the buffs that he brings, a lot of people have dropped out Rain. Ultimately, having her to a +20 is decent if you're using Rain. Ultimately, having her 3 of 9 furniture is a requirement if you're using Rain. Other than that, not really a big reason to build her. Hendrik is a hero that I love, guys. He is a pure, true tank. When you look at him and Cirrus, it is all about the health, the amount of health they get. At the beginning of battle, Hendrik's max health is increased by 1,000% of his attack rating. That is right, guys, 1,000%. And then when you couple that, of course, here, increase the defense of any hero positioned above Hendrik by 25% of his own defense. And then here it is by 60. Guys, so if you're popping him into position 2, so essentially running Astrilda on the top, running Hendrik in the bottom, Hendrik is going to give a 60% defensive boost to the hero above, which is Astrilda, making it very, very hard to kill Astrilda, creating the synergy, because remember, if you have Astrilda's signature item, as long as she stays alive, you're going to negate damage from the back line, which is usually Rowan, Rose, and Gwen. Running them back there, very, very powerful. Only drawback that I see to Hendrik is 2 of his 4 abilities are single use. So unfortunately, once it is used once per battle, he's pretty much one and done. So after that, if he does take too much damage and he dies, unfortunately, he doesn't have anything once he uses those abilities. He kind of runs short as a hero. But ultimately, guys, building him out very, very strong because he is a pure tank. Now we get into a Lard. So this is kind of a more difficult hero, very niche in a couple different teams. We've seen him not used very much. A lot of people, now that they've had him, now that they've used him, tested him, have said, no, we're not going to use him. No, we're not going to build him. Ultimately, guys, he does provide some shields, which the shields don't really seem to work very well. Ultimately, I don't even know a lot of people that are mid-game, late-game, end-game that are running Lard in a team comp. There are a lot of heroes that work better than he does, that are very cheap to build, or they already have built. I do want to build him. I can see the damage immunity being good. The only thing is there are a lot of heroes that are delayed coming into battle, so this doesn't work on them when they're actually the forward most hero. We've seen it work sometimes with Lucretia. We've seen it sometimes with Alna, kind of working with the protection, but ultimately he does die out relatively quick. Even having his shields, he's a hero that dies out relatively quick. Which brings us to the last few guys. Thane. Thane right now, short of the Abyssal Expedition, I don't know anyone who's using him for anything. Similar to Kaz, similar to Almas. They did a rework of him a little bit ago, but ultimately they need to update him, even looking at his picture. I mean, look even how clean and clear Hogan is and how Thane is just a little bit fuzzy. They definitely need to do something even to update the hero, update some of the skills, but ultimately not really much of a place, which is the same can be said for Oscar. Oscar was kind of hopeful when he came out, but ultimately, guys, Cecilia absolutely stole the show. I don't know anyone who uses Oscar outside of maybe a very niche formation or a very niche team combination that you're fighting. But again, there are a lot more heroes that are high, much, much higher priority than building out Oscar and making sure that he performs well. So ultimately, guys, we do have Rigby. He is our very last one. Again, he does decent when he's built, and this is a point that I've kind of stressed a few times. He does decent when he's built, but there are so many options now. We have 60 plus heroes in AFK Arena. Ultimately, there's a lot of other heroes to invest in before him. Even though he performs well, he's not absolutely amazing. If Rigby was absolutely amazing, people would be building him nonstop. They would be using him nonstop, but unfortunately that is not the case. So ultimately, with him being a warrior and a tank, can perform well if you get him to scale. But ultimately, guys, there's a lot of other heroes that are built long before him. And then Peggy right now is kind of undecided. I don't know any players that are using her consistently in formations. I will definitely build her out. She is next on the list for our desired summons. So ultimately, guys, Peggy still kind of a little bit of a question mark there, just because we don't know where she's going to be utilized. We don't know at this point if she's going to be utilized in formations. We've seen her work somewhat with the Gwen comp. We've seen her somewhat with the Pippa comp, sitting in the middle, kind of protecting that spot. Seen her used a little bit with Raku. But ultimately, guys, still trying to find a place for Peggy where Raku has absolutely dominated campaign stages. Peggy is still really sidelined. Even from heroes that have her completely maxed out, they are still really, really sidelined. So guys, that will do it today for our Lightbearer faction. We have 3 more to go through. I'm going to do the Celestials and the Hypogeans together, and then we'll go ahead and we'll break down the Dimensionals. So we have 2 more videos coming in this series of the faction breakdowns. So guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think, and as always, thank you guys for watching.